A note about this story.
Time 1846. Place the Mississippi River, St. Petersburg, and other town near the river. St. Petersburg is the name the writer gave for his town, Hannibal.
At the time of the story, there were many slaves in the southern part of the United States. In the 18th century, landowners in Europe and America had taken people from Africa. These black Africans became the slaves of the landowner. They had to work for the landowner. The landowner did not pay the slave. The owner owned them. The slave had terrible life. Some merchants bought and sold these African slaves. They were slave traders. Sometimes slaves ran away from their owners. They were called runaway slaves. White people often captured runaway and got reward of money for them.
At the beginning of the 19th century, the government of Europe stopped the slave trade. People in Europe did not own slaves after that, and the government of the United States wants to stop the slave trade too. Soon, there were no more slaves in the states in the northern eastern part of the country, but most of the landowners in the states to the southwest of the Mississippi River in the southern part of the country wanted to keep their slaves. Some good landowners in these states gave their slaves freedom. After that, they were no longer slaves.
At the time of this story, some of the states in the U.S. were free states. These were the states in the Northeast. There were no slaves in this state. It was not legal to have slaves in this state. And in this state, it was not legal to capture slaves from other states. Most of the southern states were slave states. People there owned many slaves. In this story, Arkansas and Missouri are slave states, and in some other states, white people did not own slaves, but they captured runaway from slave states. It was legal to do this. The white people took the runaway back to their owner and got reward for them. Chapter 1. Writers don't know everything.
My name is Huckleberry Edwin. My friend call me Huck, and I'm 14 years old. Have you heard about me? Have you read about me and my friend Tom Sawyer? Mr. Taiwan wrote a book about us. The book was about both of us, but Mr. Taiwan called it The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. The story in that book are true, but Mr. Taiwan didn't tell you everything about us. He didn't know everything about us. He was a writer, not a boy. Writers don't know everything about boys.
Now, I'm going to tell you some more about my story. But first, I'm going to remind you about myself. I was born in St. Petersburg, in the state of Missouri. St. Petersburg is on western shore of the Mississippi River. My mother died a long time ago. After that, my father left the town and I live alone.
Tom Sawyer's mother was dead too, but Tom lives with his aunt, Aunt Polly. I didn't have any aunts. I lived alone for many years. In the summer, I slept in the field near the river. In the winter, I slept in bunks on the farm near the town. I didn't go to school, and I didn't learn lessons. I didn't go to church, and I didn't say prayers. I didn't wash my face, and I didn't cut my beard. My life was good.
I didn't have any aunts. I didn't have any brother or sisters, but I had many friends. Most of the boys in St. Petersburg were my friends, but their mothers and fathers weren't my friends. Their mother and father didn't want me to come to their house. They didn't want me to talk to their children. Why? Because their children didn't like going to school, and their children didn't like going to church. All my friends wanted to be me. Their parents didn't like that.
What about my father? I didn't see him very often. Sometimes he came to St. Petersburg, but he was a bad man. He was always drunk. He often hit me, and he stole things from me. I was afraid of him.
2 years ago, in 1844, Tom Sawyer and I had an adventure. There were two bad men in our town. They had stolen some money and they had hidden it. They wanted to attack an old widow. One of the bad men hated this widow, Mr. Douglas. Her husband was dead. He had been a judge. Some years before, he had sent this man to prison. The man wanted to hurt Mr. Douglas. He and his friend wanted to get into her house. They wanted to cut her face and her ears.
Tom and I found out about the man's plan, and Tom and I told Judge Thatcher about it. I was angry about those men. I liked Mrs. Douglas. She was kind to me. She sometimes gave me food and clothes.
Judge Thatcher and some other men went to Mrs. Douglas' house. They caught one of the bad men. The other man escaped. He hid a cave in the side of a hill, but he soon died there. Tom Sawyer knew about the man's hiding place. He told Judge Thatcher about it. The man from the town found the stolen money in the cave.
After that, everybody in St. Petersburg was pleased with Tom, and they were pleased with me too. My friend's parents smiled at me. They spoke to me. They invited me to their house, and Judge Thatcher gave the money from the cave to Tom and me. We each had $6,000. Judge Thatcher took care of it for us. Every week, he gave us $5. One day, Mrs. Douglas found me in a bunk. She took me to her house. "This is your home now, Huckleberry,"
The widow said.
"You saved me from those bad men. Now I'm going to take care of you. You are going to live here with me. You'll sleep in a soft bed every night, and you will wear clean clothes. You will go to school every day, except Sundays.
Mrs. Douglas said.
You will learn about reading and writing. You will wash your face every morning, and you will comb your hair every day. And on Sundays, you will go to church. You will be happy with me, Huckleberry."
But I wasn't happy. I like Miss Douglas's. I tried to please her, but I don't like bath. I don't like clean clothes, and I don't like washing my face. And there was another problem. Miss Douglas had a sister. Her name is Miss Watson. She lived in Mrs. Douglas' house too. Miss Watson wanted a slave, an old black man. His name was Jim. I liked Jim. He was kind to me, but I didn't like his owner, and she didn't like me. Miss Douglas wanted me to be clean. That was bad. But her sister wanted me to be good. That was worse.
"You must read the Bible every day,
Miss Watson said to me.
and you must be a better person."
But I didn't want to be a better person. I want to be happy.
At the end of his book about Tom and me, Miss Troy wrote this.
Huck did not want to stay in St. Petersburg forever. One day he got into a small boat and he went south. He traveled down the Mississippi River, but that is another story.
This book is the other story. Mr. Chen didn't know everything about me. I did leave St. Petersburg. I wasn't happy in Mrs. Douglas' house. That's true, but that wasn't the reason for my journey. The reason was this: my father came back to St. Petersburg.
I told you the truth. I wasn't happy with Miss Douglas and Miss Watson. I didn't like going to school, and I didn't reading the Bible. School was boring. The Bible was boring. Everything in my life was boring. But one evening, my father came back to St. Petersburg. After that, I wanted a bowling life again.
That evening, I went to my bedroom at 9 o'clock. My father was in my room. He was waiting for me. He had climbed into the room through a window. His hair was long and his clothes was dirty. He was holding a bottle of whiskey. He was drunk. I wanted to call Mrs. Douglas, but my father put his hand over my mouth.
Be quiet,
He said.
Listen to me. You're a bad son. I've heard about you. You go to school every day. You're running about reading and writing. Why? I didn't go to school. I can read and write. Why do you want to read or write? You're my son.
My father said he hit me.
But you've never been a good son to me. That is going to change now. You're going to be a good son. I've heard about your money. You've got $6,000. It's my money now. I want it. Get it for me. Get it tomorrow. Do you understand me?